The most chilling creepypasta ever told. What if I told you that there's a story that so terrifying, so unnerving that it's haunted the internet for years, pushing boundaries of horror and leaving readers in restless, sleepless nights? This isn't just any urban legend or ghost tale whispered around campfires. This is creepypasta, a story that takes fear to its most miserable level. The legend we're diving into today, the Russian sleep experiment, the tale that's become infamous among forums and horror sites, cementing its place as the most chilling creepypasta ever told. The experiment that should never have happened. It all starts with a sinister government experiment in the 1940s. In the height of Cold War paranoia, a group of Russian researchers decided to test the limits of human endurance by depriving their subjects of sleep. The idea was simple yet horrifying. They would lock 5 political prisoners in a sealed chamber, pump the room full of an experimental gas designed to keep them awake, and observe what happens when the body and mind are denied rest for an extended period. In the first few days, everything seemed to be going as expected. The prisoners talked amongst themselves, grumbled about their situation, and even whispered secrets into the chamber's microphones, thinking they weren't being listened to. But soon the effects of sleep deprivation began to show. They grew agitated, paranoid, their conversations turned dark, and eventually they fell silent. That's when the real nightmare began. Unimaginable descent into madness. On the 5th day, the researchers noticed something strange. The prisoners stopped communicating altogether. At first, they thought it was a technical glitch. Maybe the microphone had failed, or the gas was messing with their ability to speak. But then they heard it. Whispers, low, incoherent mutterings that grew into frantic, deranged screams. The subjects weren't just awake, they had gone mad. What happened next was too horrific for anyone to predict. By the 10th day, the prisoners had mutilated themselves. They tore off their own flesh with their hands, ripping muscles, skin, and even internal organs, and yet they showed no signs of pain or even exhaustion. They begged to remain awake, screaming that they needed the gas to stay alive. The final hours. At this point, the researchers knew they had created something far worse than they had ever intended. They decided to end the experiment, but it was too late. When the chamber finally opened, what the researchers found was a scene straight out of a nightmare. The bodies of the prisoners were unrecognizable, twisted and mutilated beyond comprehension, and with some having gouged out their own eyes or disemboweled themselves. But they were still alive. Even more disturbing, when the scientists tried to sedate them, the prisoners became violent, shrieking that they didn't want to sleep. They claimed that if they fell asleep, they would die. As they were being restrained, one of the prisoners uttered the final haunting sentence: "We are you. We are the madness that lurks within their minds, waiting for the moment to break free." Is the story real? The genius behind the Russian sleep experiment is that it blends just enough realism with the supernatural to make you question: could something like this have happened? There's no evidence that such an experiment ever took place, and yet these unsettling details feel too plausible to dismiss entirely. That's why it makes this creepypasta so powerful. It plays on our fears of the unknown, or what might happen if we push human boundaries too far. It taps into the primal fear of losing control, not just of our bodies, but of our minds. Why the Russian sleep experiment stays with you. This story sticks with you long after you read it, not because of the grotesque details, but because it taps into something far more universal, the fragility of the human mind. We rely on sleep to restore us, to help keep us sane. But what happens if that's taken away? What if there's something lurking just beneath our consciousness, waiting to be unleashed if we push ourselves too far? The Russian sleep experiment chills us because it makes us question our own limits. Could we break like the prisoners did? Could our own minds betray us? You'll never look at sleep the same way again. Let us know in the comments if you come across an even scary creepypasta. And remember, if this story kept you up at night, there's always some more waiting in the dark corners of the internet. Ready to explore those? Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to more terrifying tales. And if you enjoyed this, give it a like. Who knows? Maybe your next sleepless night is just around the corner.